Welcome to Transformation for Success with Dr. Barbara Young. If you're looking for something more, something different, something better, this is your opportunity. Over the next hour, we'll talk about inspiration for personal and professional success. Now, here is your host, Dr. Barbara Young.
Well, hello there, and welcome to the Transformation for Success show. I am so pleased today to have as my guest on the show, Miss Nancy Mueller, who's a speaker, coach, the Mastering Your Beliefs mentor, and a best-selling author of Healing the Child Within. Life is About Choices. Nancy's journey began when she became a student, competitor, and teacher of the martial arts. So she will share why she studied martial arts and how she began to understand some of the philosophies behind martial arts. And she's going to share also how she started her business called WAVE, Women Against Violent Encounters. Through the years, Nancy's business has organically transitioned to the coaching and mentoring she offers women today. Nancy believes that when we master our beliefs, we open the door to the possibilities of building a great future. But life isn't always as simple as we expect. So today, she is on the show to share her journey and to encourage many women, and not just the women, but you guys who are listening too, with her teachings and strategies she learned to become the inspiring coach she is today. So I want you to stay tuned, call your friends, as you're going to learn more about this woman who created the Mastering Your Beliefs program. Now, let me welcome and present my guest, Miss Nancy Mueller. Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Dr. Barbara. How are you today?
I am fantastic, and it's a pleasure to have you on the show today. I, am actually thrilled, Nancy, because you have quite an incredible story. So I want to get right into it and have you walk the listeners through your early journey and share just who is Nancy Mueller, as written in your book, Healing the Child Within.
Excellent. Well, thank you for asking. And I guess it would have to start in my childhood, which is why the book is about a child, because we all have an inner child within us. And as adults, we're walking around with this inner child, still telling us, hey, this is what we learned in childhood, so it worked then. This is what we should do in adulthood. And most adults don't realize that they're walking around making decisions based on childhood beliefs. My childhood was full of physical abuse, emotional abuse, verbal abuse that escalated to sexual abuse by the age of 12.
Boy, you had it all. My goodness.
I did, yes. And, I was told often, over and over and over, that I was worthless, that I would never amount to anything, and I believed that. So, growing up, there really wasn't much cause to aspire to be anything. And I just thought, okay, why try in school, right? Why aspire to be anything? When you're told something over and over and over, you get that mindset of that's who you are. And then, interestingly enough, you are steeped in the feeling of what that feels like. Right. A lot of people miss that part, when you're steeped in the feeling of feeling low self-worth, low self-confidence, and what that feels like, you will make choices in your life to continue to create that feeling. And that is the part that a lot of the, the books, the teachings, the classes, the seminars, that's the part that they kind of omit, because the feeling part of it is what we keep creating over and over. It's like a drug, I've got to have that feeling. Even though it doesn't do anything for us, it's quite opposite. We strive to feel that feeling.
And it may not be a positive feeling, is what you're saying.
Pardon me?
You're saying it may not be a positive feeling that you're striving for. Right.
Exactly. But we don't realize that. We just think that this is who I am. And so growing up, I thought, well, okay, what I really want, I wanted to feel powerful. I wanted to make sure that no one would ever harm me again. And that was the reason that I wanted to take martial arts. I'm a child of the 60s and 70s and, the Bruce Lee era. And I thought, wow, if I could fight like Bruce, no one would ever lay a hand on me again. This is what I wanted to do.
Right.
And it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I actually had the opportunity to study martial arts. But boy, once I started, it just enveloped me. It felt so wonderful. And first it was 1 or 2 days a week, and then it was every day, and then it was competing and teaching. And that's where my first business started, WAVE, Women Against Violent Encounters, because I thought that my calling was to teach other women this powerful, empowering philosophy, the philosophies behind the martial arts. But I found that while women were really excited to be a part of the self-defense portion of it, it was the philosophies that they were really taking into their lives and their businesses, and that's what was helping them with their relationships. It was that empowerment piece, the philosophies. And so that's where my business organically transitioned from teaching self-defense to the life coaching that I do today for both men and women. It started out with just women, but, today's coaching is both men and women.
Right.
And it's those philosophies of understanding that, okay, what is your mindset? What is it that you believe to be true that was brought up or taught to you somewhere in your childhood that you never thought to take a look at, or you don't even realize it needs to be looked at because it's just something that you've done out of habit year after year after year. And this can save relationships. It can save jobs. It can save your health. It can save your mental awareness.
Absolutely.
So it is really, really valuable to understand, why you make the choices that you do, the thoughts that you think, and how powerful they are to either keep you in the flow or away from the flow.
Well, Nancy, we on my television talk show, we recently just discussed how to break free of limiting beliefs. Because there's so many people who have limiting beliefs, men and women, as you say, who are not really aware of the limiting beliefs. And we were talking about the root of it and how do you go back, and then how do you begin to really actually look at it and identify it, because that belief becomes your truth. So how do you then unravel it? So what are some of the processes that you've been able to, for you yourself, to get through that? Besides, the self-defense is great, learning how to fight, but the fight is within. What were some of the things that you went through to get through the hurt?
Well, one of the awesome things about the fight was being in the ring and, going toe-to-toe with both men and women in the ring. I came to realize that it was not about the fight, the physical fight, and the strength is in my mind. And when I was able to make that transition, I believe that that's the hierarchy of the martial arts, which is what's so invaluable about studying this beautiful art. And this is why when I wrote the book, Healing the Child Within, Life is All About Choices, it's actually a journey of both my story and my mother's story combined. Because as I was studying and working with clients and understanding limiting beliefs, I realized that this belief of being worthless, of low self-value, low self-worth, low self-confidence, it wasn't even my story or my belief, it was my mother's. And because of where she comes from and her upbringing and her relationship with my father, this is why she taught and raised me the way she did.
Right.
And, that's not to blame parents. Parents just parent the way they were parented. And we keep repeating the cycle until we understand how to break the cycle.
Right.
So it wasn't until my husband of 32 years told me that he wanted a divorce that my mom circled back into my life, and she started talking to me, and she lives in Ohio. I live in California, and we were having conversations, and she just said, Nancy, I think I'm watching what you're doing with all these women, and I think maybe it could help us. What do you think? And so I basically would just have conversations with her about, okay, so if you were a client, this is what I see. This is what I would share with you. What do you think about that? So it was very non-threatening because it's very difficult to coach a family member or a friend. So we would just have conversations and just start the relationship anew. And my mom, to her credit, she really started opening up and started understanding where her limiting beliefs were coming from and how she had put her limiting beliefs into me. And the beautiful thing about it was then as she started to release that, that's where the relationship blossomed because she had a lot of guilt over her choices in parenting us. There were 5 of us children. So it was her, and this is a great thing to bring up right now at this point is that we always think that we can change our life by changing someone else. And we cannot. We don't have a power over
change
someone
yourself
else.
first.
Right, exactly. So, I could have, because most of my life it was like, oh, if my mom wasn't such a grouch, or oh, if she wasn't so mean, or if she wasn't so horrible or hateful, or, whatever. And when you can let that go and realize that my life is not because of my mom's choices, my life is because of the choices I make, because of the choices my mom made or my father made.
Right.
And when you can get to that point, it's so freeing.
It's very revealing. And I can attest to that because a lot of my seminars that I would do, life growth empowerment seminars for women, I would always say it's always the problem is out there. I don't like the word problem. The challenge is out there. It's my boss. It's my husband. If my sister would change, if my aunt would change, if they would change. And I said the problem is inside. If you change, the outside will change. So the processes that we go through as human beings, there's such a myriad of challenges that people are facing today. And I want to segue into that because changing yourself first. Nancy, in your travels and in coaching women and men, what have you found has been some of the biggest challenges that they have had to overcome?
The belief about what's stopping them.
Okay.
Because they'll say, well, I can't do this because of this. And so when we break it down and we say, okay, so this is your stopping point, and they'll recognize it. Yeah, that's my stopping point. Okay, so why is that your stopping point? And when you force someone to explain it, see, then they're forced to step outside of what I call the known zone. The known zone is it's like a title that I call that area of we base all of our decisions on based on what we think we know.
Right.
And we don't know what we don't know. So this is why, we keep doing things over and over the same way because that's what we know. That's what's gotten us results in the past, whether positive or negative. And it's all we know how to do. So when you work with a coach or a mentor or someone who can challenge that belief and say, okay, where does that come from? Because I think it's almost virtually impossible for us to challenge our own beliefs. No one questions why they believe something. We don't think about that.
No, they don't. And that's where the limiting beliefs comes because you never challenge them. You really never go and look at the root as to because it's your truth. Why did you adopt that? Because we all are products of our parents and their early upbringing, and we adopt how our parents treat us. And of course, one of the things I know you always share this that as parents, we have not been trained to be parents. We go to school, we get education to be trained in certain fields that we develop an expertise, but we never have been trained to be parents. So, that's one of the challenges too.
Now, it was interesting. I was watching just a short interview with Della Reese yesterday, and she talked about how her husband was very, very abusive and just very physically abusive. And the day that 2 days before her mother passed away, her mother had a conversation with her about how important it is when you make a promise to God and that you're going to get married, then you make a promise to your spouse and you keep that promise no matter what. And then that day, her mother had an aneurysm, and 2 days later, she passed away. So what was going through Della's mind was the fact that this man is beating on me, but what her mother had told her. And so it took her a little while, to understand, okay, Mom, I do get this, what you told me, but I have to let that belief go. that, I have to endure this relationship. And she said that was very hard for her because part of her wanted to leave the man and the other part of her was clinging very, very tightly to the words that her mother had left to her. So you can see where it's not necessarily even out of a bad relationship with your parents. I mean, obviously her mother was telling her that from love. And
absolutely.
So when we're just able to take a look at where these beliefs come from, all we have to do is ask the question, is that true? Or is that what I've always believed to be true?
Right.
And wow, that is so freeing.
It is very freeing. I'm reminded of my own circumstances where I was the first person in my family to ever get a divorce because that was just the culture. And so we're going to talk about forgiving and how forgiveness comes into play when we're talking about ridding ourselves of these limiting beliefs. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break, Nancy, and we're going to be right back with my listeners. So stay tuned. We've got a lot more to share. So thank you for listening.
Success starts here. VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com. It's your world.
Looking for something new and exciting? It's finally here. Yes, introducing a new Internet TV network, Transformation Success, with founder, president, CEO, and Voice America radio talk show host, Dr. Barbara Young. So listeners, you can now see Dr. Young each week on her new show, The Total Woman, along with her co-hosts from around the globe. And there are several channel categories to engage you, such as financial, health and wellness, personal empowerment, music to inspire, inspiration and motivation, career, professional development, and did I mention Dream Connections? This is your personal invitation to view the Transformation Success TV network each week on Fridays for your viewing pleasure at the voiceamerica.tv network.
Please join Dr. Sarah, a.k.a. Dr. Red, on an amazing journey of love, soul, abundance, compassion, and authenticity. Dr. Red is a well-renowned healer, hypnotherapist, author, and speaker who has overcome personal challenges to emerge stronger than ever before to reach out to you and heal you emotionally, mentally, and spiritually for the most informative and enriching experience filled with unbridled laughter and insights on life, health, culture, and society. Tune in to Dr. Red Says, Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern on Voice America Empowerment.
Become a member of VoiceAmerica.com. It's easy, and best of all, it's free. Start out by going to our homepage or any of our channels and click Register at the top. Once you've created an account and signed in, you can create your own custom library, opt into our newsletter, search by show, host, guest, or topic of interest, or browse millions of hours of content across all of our Voice America radio channels. Membership gets you more. Visit VoiceAmerica.com today to get started and tailor the listening experience to your taste.
Success starts here. VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com. It's your world.
This is Transformation for Success. To reach Dr. Barbara Young or today's guest, please call into the program at 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. You may also send an email to info@transformationforsuccess.com. Now, back to this week's program.
And welcome back today to the Transformation for Success show with my guest, Miss Nancy Mueller. And she is the author and creator of the book, The Journey Within. I call it Healing the Child Within, but actually she went a journey within, and she's sharing a lot of what she learned personally with our listeners today. And she also is the originator and creator of When We Master Our Beliefs. And so we're going to talk about that, which opens the door to possibilities of building a greater future for many of you out there. You know, one of the questions I had, Nancy, when we talk about the processes that one goes through, and you've had quite a journey, let me tell you, and abuse from all four perspectives, really. And so when you think about that, I always want to know how forgiveness plays a role in this. And what are your feelings and thoughts about how forgiveness does play a role?
Well, you know, that's such a great question, Dr. Barbara. And when I was a young girl, raised in the church, and I was always taught forgiveness, and it made no sense to me. I couldn't understand. I was always taught you have to honor your mother and father, and I used to pray, and I used to ask God, why? If I'm supposed to honor my mother and father, why did you give me parents who are the people who I am most fearful of or who are hurting me the most? It just didn't make sense to me. I couldn't put that. I couldn't put that equation. It didn't make sense to me in my head. Do you know it wasn't until I was almost in my 30s that I went down to the next chapter in the Bible? And it's so interesting because when we're raised a certain way in specific religion, sometimes we only read what we're taught to read. And that next paragraph was so freeing for me because it says something, and I'm paraphrasing here, but to the effect of, but parents, you must also honor your children.
Absolutely.
The children that you were given. And so I thought, oh my goodness. And of course,
you never saw that.
No, I never did. And of course, when, the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So as I was studying martial arts, and I was by this time a parent myself and raising my two beautiful daughters, and all I knew was that I wanted to raise them differently than I had been raised. I wanted them to feel loved and secured and just know that I loved them and would never raise a hand to them, and we would always talk everything out. So it started out, I just kind of basically tried to do everything the opposite. But getting back to the forgiveness part, I struggled with that for quite a while until I understood that it's not about forgiving another person. It's about forgiving yourself. Forgiving yourself for not being able to move forward. That's when the term forgiveness took on a whole new definition for me. And I understood that I don't have to forgive, and just walk away and say, okay, then I'm going to put myself in that situation to let it happen again. It's about empowering yourself to say, I forgive myself for needing that lesson or that event or that feeling, and I'm moving past it now, and I'm open to the beautiful things in my life that are going to transpire based on this forgiveness. So that, just making that subtle shift in what my understanding of forgiveness was huge for me. And as I mentioned earlier, my mother and I have a fantastic relationship now. I mean, we call or text or Skype each other at least once a day. And it's amazing. We're constantly in touch. She probably knows more about what I'm doing on a daily basis than my own daughters do. So, and if someone had said, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, that we'd be doing this, I would have thought, no, you don't know my mother. But now on the flip side, my father, he makes different choices in his life. So it's not about, if you could do it for one parent, why couldn't you do it for the other parent? It's about knowing what that person wants out of their life. And, just like you would decide maybe a neighbor that is, just the energy is off and it's not kind of in the same energetic field that you are. And you say, something tells me intuitively that this is a person that I want to stay away from. So I get that question asked a lot. Well, a lot of people just think it's a matter of, if this works, then why doesn't it work with your dad like it works with your mom? Because it takes two people.
Right.
And so both, my mother obviously wanted to work on herself. She wanted the relationship.
She was very open to it.
Exactly. So, and it's about being able to stand in the forgiveness of, if that other person doesn't want what you want in the relationship, that's okay. When my husband of 32 years said that he wanted a divorce, that was hard for me because, man, up to that point, I thought I was really kicking butt. I'm like, great, I've got it all figured out. My program is working. This is awesome. Yes. Yeah. And then it really made me question who I am.
Well, you know what? That's interesting because that was going to be my next question. Because during in your 30s and you're taking martial arts and you're learning some things about yourself and you're healing and you're getting together with your mom, what's going on in the marriage? I mean, I just am intrigued because it seems like, if you're working on yourself, you're what, do you feel that a lot of your past, a lot of the stuff you were carrying filtered into that relationship? somehow?
No, I think that, well, number one, I got married when I was 17, 2 weeks out of high school. And how do you know,
Okay.
really, you know,
hmm
my understanding of life, my beliefs in myself were
hmm
not the same then that they are
hmm
today. However, I'm a firm believer that you can keep the marriage going and you can keep the marriage working if both people, are committed. And
Right.
that's the key
Right.
right there. Both
Right.
people have to be committed. And I was trying to hold on to a relationship and a marriage for two
hmm
people.
hmm
I never got to the point where we were each individually working as hard
Right.
to keep
You
the
know
marriage
what?
together.
Nancy, not to cut you off, but you know what just occurred to me, and I'm going to ask you to think
Mm-hmm.
about this. I don't know why. I just started to feel this. That, it's interesting. You got married very young. And so being at that young age, you were sort of getting away from the house, getting away, and you're bringing some issues with you. Probably he's bringing some with him. And it's interesting, as you got well, maybe he liked you better being sick. And I don't mean to
Absolutely.
infer,
No, you're right. You're
sick.
right.
But it's interesting because I do know of cases where a young man was on drugs, he got off drugs. The wife preferred him as a drug addict. I mean, it's crazy. But anyway, I began to sort of think maybe in this situation, since you were so young, as you started to get well and started to feel confident, and track out some of those unlimiting beliefs and master yourself, and maybe that intimidated him. That's just a thought. I could be
Well,
wrong.
and he actually has told me that. But as with anything, whether it's your friend, coworker, anyone in your life, when we start to be successful and step into our success and step into our greatness, it causes those around us to reevaluate their choices. And sometimes they don't like what they see. And
Right.
they'll either lash out at us or they will, stray away from us.
hmm
And so this is where we have to just shed love and light and understand and honor people where they are. That doesn't mean that I was able to look at the whole divorce situation that way. I
I'm
can look at it
sure.
that way now
Yeah.
because I really felt that, oh my gosh, I failed in the most important thing that I had ever committed to in my whole entire life. How can I be so successful in all of these areas and fail in this area? But that's where the forgiveness of self comes in, where I had to realize and just say, Nancy, you don't have control over this other person, and you have to shed love and light towards this person and say, I understand your journey and your path is different than mine, and we both honor and respect each other for our, different paths. And
And I
and
think
that's
that's
what we,
hmm
if more parents could do that, if they do feel that, they have to get a divorce and that's the answer to keep everything going, wouldn't it be so wonderful if more parents could just honor each parent where they are in the decision rather than all this horrible back and forth pushing and pulling and putting the children in the middle? That would be so wonderful.
Yeah, it would be wonderful. It really would. There's just so many things in the world that I wish, in terms of love and peace and forgiveness, and being able to honor each individual and respect them for their, being who they are. But
Hmm.
tell me, walk me sort of through your progression in your career. You were in the corporate world for a while. And then what happened that led you to live in that home of mastering your beliefs?
Well, that came about during my divorce because
hmm
it was a turning point for me. And as much as
hmm
at the time I would have told you it was the lowest point in my life, I mean, I
hmm
literally felt like I was walking through Jello.
Oh,
My
wow.
life felt so surreal,
hmm
and I felt like such a failure, and as a mother, as a woman, as a homemaker, as a homeowner. And I will tell you that I lost everything and found myself. And when
That.
that happened, I knew that I must help others do the same. I knew my calling. I knew it. And that's when I said, okay, you got it, God. I'm quitting my corporate job and I'm going to do this
hmm
full time. I wrote my first book,
hmm
finished it and published it within 2 months. And everything was just moving forward. Bam, 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 bam. Now, would I go back and do it the same way, knowing what I do today? Absolutely not. But again, if you take that leap of faith, the ground will appear beneath your feet.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I have a saying, you have to give up to go up.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, I made it very plain and simple because, you know me, sometimes I'll say, I don't want to get so esoteric, but I'll say, you have to give up to go up. And that's exactly what you did. It takes a lot of courage, and it does take that leap of faith to do that. So what happened when you discovered what you call your gift of alignment? I like that. I like that expression.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Well, I understood then for alignment, what it means to me is that I'm able to accept and allow my greatness. And that might sound very arrogant at first blush, but we are all here because we're great. We are all here to make manifest, and we're here to have this live and have this great mission of ours. We accepted this and we said, yes, I'm here to shed light and love, and as I raise my vibrational energy, it's going to raise the vibrational energy of everyone around me, and just it's like we're all lifting each other up, like floating. And so every one of us that chooses not to allow that, we're keeping ourselves down, like maybe a balloon that is losing the helium, and everybody else has these balloons, with the helium still in it. And so when I am in alignment, I am in an area of acceptance and allowance, acceptance of everything that I ask for in my life, negative or positive. You have to remember that. It's not just the good stuff that's coming in. It's not just the money. It's not just the, all that. It's both, and being able to be aware of it and look at it and just know that you are in alignment with what you say you want, and be very clear on what do you want, because most people say they know what they want, but they really don't. They know more what they don't want than what they do want. And so they concentrate more on what they don't want, and then when that shows up in their life, they can't figure out how. They're like, I don't understand. I'm working so hard. And again, that's based on their belief. They believe that this is what they need to do in order to move forward and get what they want. And so that's that treadmill that they stay on. So it's about saying, okay, I'm just going to stop the treadmill. I'm going to step off. I'm going to take a look at that and say, should I get back on that one? Or, just like in the gym, there's 20 other treadmills you can get on. And we have a choice of, do we want to continue on this path? And if we're struggling, there's a reason for it. And when you're struggling, give yourself permission to just stop and say, okay, what could I do different today? How can I accept and allow my greatness? And the answer will come.
Okay. Did you come from this realization of having what you call the gift of alignment? Did that have you segue into understanding or coming to understand that you were a change agent, or you are a change agent? And how do you convey that to some of the people that you coach?
Well, the answer is yes. And I would say that the way I convey that to the people I coach is because the people I attract, the clients I attract into my coaching business, in some way, shape, or form are needing that. They might not consciously know they need that, but we attract who we need in our life. So I will attract those people who are looking for what I have to offer, and the people who are looking for what I have to offer will be attracted to me for the same reason.
I think that's great that, we attract those people who need us. And they simply come to you. So I'm going to ask you another very, very insightful question, but we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back because I'm going to ask you to share with the listeners some of the strategies that you have used that are successful with your coaching clients and with yourself. So listeners, stay tuned. We're going to be right back with my guest, Nancy Mueller. Thank you for listening.
Change your world. Change your life. VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com.
Looking for something new and exciting? It's finally here. Yes, introducing a new internet TV network, Transformation Success, with founder, president, CEO, and Voice America radio talk show host, Dr. Barbara Young. So listeners, you can now see Dr. Young each week on her new show, The Total Woman, along with her co-hosts from around the globe. And there are several channel categories to engage you, such as financial, health and wellness, personal empowerment, music to inspire, inspiration and motivation, career, professional development, and did I mention Dream Connections? This is your personal invitation to view the Transformation Success TV network each week on Fridays for your viewing pleasure at the voiceamerica.tv network.
What's your purpose on the planet? Are you ready to make jumps to pursue your passions? We often make excuses, but it commonly leads back to fear. Sharing our stories provides an opportunity to learn lessons and leverage pearls of wisdom that we gain on life's journey. We'll help you push through the fears that hold you back from empowering you to experience pure love and live your life's purpose. Tune in to the Beth Bell Radio Show Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific Time, 8 p.m. Eastern on Voice America Empowerment.
Now there's a new destination for video content, voiceamerica.tv, just like our radio channels and so much more. Voice America Variety, Health and Wellness, Business, Sports, Green Talk, Power Up Motorsports, and Seventh Wave Network now have their own video channel components. Plus, check out exclusive programming, including movies, music, educational courses, science and history, current events, and short features. High-definition, premier quality programs available 24/7. voiceamerica.tv. If you think you've seen online TV like this before, let us surprise you.
Change your world. Change your life. VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com.
This is Transformation for Success. To reach Dr. Barbara Young or today's guest, please call into the program at 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. You may also send an email to info@transformationforsuccess.com. Now, back to this week's program.
Hello there, and welcome back to the Transformation for Success show today. I am excited again because we have a wonderful guest today, Nancy Mueller. And this woman weaves magic. She's going to share a lot about Mastering Your Beliefs program, and she's now going to share some of the strategies that she has used and found very successful for those of you who want to live in a home like Nancy of mastering your beliefs. So, Nancy, share with some of the listeners some of the strategies that you have used that are successful with your clients and yourself.
All righty. Well, thank you for asking. And I would say the first word maybe to add to your dictionary on a daily basis, in fact, on a minute-by-minute basis every day until you get in this habit, is the word allow. Ask yourself, what am I allowing? Because we allow circumstances, events, feelings into our life based on what we're going through at the moment, what we want in the moment, what we feel like we're not getting in the moment. And so when you ask yourself, how am I allowing this to happen? It takes the responsibility from another person and puts it on you. Because every single answer comes from within. There's so many people who are looking outside of themselves for answers, but every answer lies within. We have the answers. We might need someone to help pull it out of us, but the answers come from within. So if you're in a relationship that doesn't empower you, that doesn't serve you, and you're saying, if only my spouse or significant other would do this or say this, and that's when we're playing the blame game. We're expecting them to change so that we can have a happier life. And we're not allowing, first of all, that person to be who they need to be. And second of all, we're not allowing the most happiness that can happen within our life based in our relationship because we're so busy we're putting so much energy trying to change that other person, and we forget to take a look in the mirror. So that would be the first thing I would suggest. look at the word allow and ask where you are allowing and how you're allowing in your life.
I love that. Okay. A second one.
A second one would be acceptance, meaning accept your greatness. I think it's so hard for us to really just look at ourselves in the mirror and say, how you doing today? You're looking awesome. I just love the way you're wearing your hair, or I love that outfit you have on today, or I love how you just really did a great job on that presentation you did, or I love what you have planned for today. We have such a difficult time having a loving conversation with ourselves because we have such a difficult time accepting who we are. We always are trying to keep up with the Joneses. And it's so interesting because I bet if you ask 1,000 people on the street, no one can tell you who the Joneses are. Where did we even come up with that?
Where we get that saying?
Yeah, exactly. And so we're so preoccupied with trying to look a certain way, act a certain way, drive a certain car, live in a certain neighborhood, eat a certain way, not eat a certain way. And we're so afraid to just be us. And when we give ourselves permission to accept who we are, to just know that we are part of God. So how could anything be wrong? How could anything be wrong with us? It's impossible. And then when you just look yourself in the mirror and you start to accept all of the things about your body, the way you look, and if there's something that you say, oh, I think this needs to be changed, do it with love. Do it with acceptance. Not changing because you're sending negative energy towards that part of your body, but you're changing because you're accepting that you want to love yourself more. And when you can be in acceptance, it changes the vibration of your whole being.
That's great. That's great. Anything else?
Yes. Pay attention to how you're feeling. You know, a lot of people think, oh, I'm good, or oh, I'm bad, or I did this right, or I did this wrong. Instead of good, bad, right, wrong, start paying attention to how you're feeling. How does something make you feel? And basically, if it doesn't feel good, don't do it. Because if it doesn't feel good, that's your higher self telling you, this is probably not the best decision for you right at this moment. And we so often ignore that intuition, that God self in us, you know, that's giving us this power and this enlightenment and trying to show us this is how you're going to step into your greatness. But we have such a difficult time believing in our greatness that we will often choose to feel a negative before we'll allow ourselves to feel a positive. So be in acceptance of who you are and pay attention to your feelings.
I like that. Those are great. I'm going to repeat them because one of the things, too, is remember you attract what you need. And I believe that doesn't just go for coaching, but as an individual. But minute by minute, I'm repeating what Nancy says, is allow, that word allow. And to really take a look at what am I allowing. And I hope many of you may get a pad and pencil and begin to write some of these things down, because I think it's imperative that we write stuff down. So if you have time, get a pad and a pencil and write this down, or you can download the show and listen later and be sure to get these remarkable tips. What am I allowing in my life? What do I need to allow in my life? And number 2, she talked about acceptance. Being accepting of yourself, your greatness, because so many people, as she said, have a low opinion of oneself. And I think that you need to love yourself. And sometimes, Nancy didn't say this, but I think in the cases looking in that mirror and maybe having to empty out before you can fill up again. Emptying out of oneself, all that negativity, forgiveness, letting go of some things, and looking at yourself and loving yourself. Yes, I made a mistake. Yes, I got pregnant at 17, or I had an affair. But to say, God forgives me. I have repented for that. I ask forgiveness to love myself. You didn't say all of that, Nancy, but I'm sort of including that.
I love what you got out of it. That's amazing. You see right there how you can take something and expound on it. This is why many minds make such great masters.
And then the third one, she says, pay attention to what you're feeling. I translate that to, because I get the feeling and emotions. Too many people do respond to emotions. She's saying, pay attention to your intuition. What are you feeling inside? And that intuition that tells you, don't go down that street. And many of us, I believe, Nancy, when we grew up, we knew right from wrong. There was that inner voice telling us, don't do that, but we do it anyway. And then we'd say, why didn't I follow my right mind? You've heard people say that. Well, that was your intuition speaking to you. So these are three great things that I thank you, Nancy, for sharing, because truly you have a gift of helping women. And I am so committed that we need both of us, all of us, who are out here coaching and helping women to transform their lives, and men, because we're not forgetting the men, that there's so many of us who are all, I think, on the same page, wanting to have people be successful and more fulfilled lives. One of the things I'm going to ask you, too, is that I've always believed, and you may have said this, or we may have some conversations about, if you hang around successful people, you'll be more successful. How did you find this truism for yourself?
Oh, I love this question. Thank you. Okay, first of all, what I want to say is when you hang around successful people, pay close attention to your self-talk. Your self-talk is that little voice inside your head, that mind chatter, that negative mind chatter. Are you saying things like, I don't know why I'm here. I could never live in their world. They do really awesome things. I could never be that. If that's your mind chatter when you're hanging around these successful people and you are comparing yourself to them, pay close attention to your feelings right then and there, because that is a belief somewhere steeped inside of you that's telling you that you don't belong there. And this is why mastering your beliefs is so very important. So when you can pay attention to that mind chatter, negative or positive, now if it's positive mind chatter and you're with these successful people, the next question to ask yourself is, am I trying to be like them? Am I trying to copy what they're doing? Because we're all individuals. And while we can take what someone else is doing and add it to our greatness, it doesn't, nowhere is it written that we need to become them. And I think there are a lot of people who are trying to become someone else.
I agree.
And so, it's find the success that they're doing and how to apply it to your personal space, your personal mindset. And then the next question that you want to ask yourself, 3 steps to that, is, okay, now am I done with these successful people? Am I ready to move up? Because sometimes we keep ourselves at certain levels because we think, wow, before I met these people, I never dreamed that I could be in this mindset or around these people. And then we get to that point, then we say, well, who am I to go higher? I should just kind of stay here, right? And it's not ever thinking that you're better than someone else. It's just continue to climb. Give yourself permission to accept and allow that this is what you're here for, to continue climbing.
That is great. I love your answer on that. And then watch that self-talk when you're around successful people, because you know what? You have that greatness within you. Every one of us has been given that gift. So use it purposefully, because that's what you're here for. Nancy, I have a saying that I tell people, if you're not using your gift, if you're not fulfilling your purpose, you have an illegitimate existence here on earth. Okay, that's period. So I just want you to know that I had one sort of final question as we wrap up the show. And this is interesting because in today's climate, we are so bombarded by social media and less communication face to face. What are your thoughts that you can share for the future of our young women, particularly our millennials?
Well, I think this goes for both men and women because remember, when you continue to climb, not you personally, Barbara, but every person, when every person continues to climb and be the best you that you can be, you are causing a ripple effect to everyone in your life. So you walk into the coffee shop and your habit is to just stay on your phone and, I don't know, whatever, you're checking social media or whatever, and you don't even hardly look up enough to say, I want a coffee black or whatever, and then you just continue. You had no personal interaction with that person because you're staying in a shell. But imagine now the difference when you look up, you smile, you have eye contact, and maybe you're shy and this is really outside of your comfort zone, but just say hi, say thank you. Thank you for making my day. Thank you for making my coffee right. Thank you. Thank you. Just say thank you. I can't tell you how many times I do that when I go in for a glass of tea, and I'll say to the barista, thank you for making my day. I love this iced tea, and I love how I feel when I drink it, so thank you. I can't tell how many people take a second look at me and go, okay. And sometimes they're caught off guard and they don't know what to say, but more often than not, you can tell they light up. They feel so appreciated. And that's just one little example of how we have an effect on other people's lives. So what you do affects you and all the people around you every single moment.
Every day. I hope the listeners are paying attention to that, because I just saw something on, I think, Good Morning America last week, where a woman actually was so busy texting and walking down the streets that she fell into a big hole, and it took them a while to get her out of there. She was, so the thing is, we have to pay attention, and also how much we affect people all around us. So Nancy, you have this wonderful gift again. I applaud you for helping women and sharing your bit about the Mastering Your Beliefs program that you created. And so as we close the show today, I want to thank you. And I'm just going to give you the last word that you'd like to say to all the listeners out there. What is your last word, Miss Nancy?
Believe in yourself, because it makes the impossible possible.
Thank you so much. Believe in yourself, for it makes the impossible possible. So I know the listeners have taken away some very powerful information today to help you on your transformational journey. I don't care what the circumstances may have been. As you listen to Nancy today, she had a tremendous challenge or challenges to overcome, but she did it. And so we thank you again, Miss Nancy, for being on the show today and being so transparent and authentic. So I welcome your feedback, listeners. Don't be shy. You can send your comments or your questions to me at info@transformationforsuccess.com. You can also Skype your comments to me, and you can reach me on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. It's been a pleasure and a delight to have you, Nancy, again, and I wish you God's blessings as you continue your journey. So until then, this is Dr. Barbara Young, and I'm signing off until next Tuesday, when I'll have another joyful and exciting guest for you. So thank you again. Have a very joyful and blessed week.
We appreciate you joining us for Transformation for Success. Please join your host, Dr. Barbara Young, again next Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 12 noon Pacific Time on the Voice America Empowerment Channel. Or join us for our replay every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time and 12 noon Pacific Time on the Voice America Women's Channel. Have an outstanding week.